So here we are talking about an idea, validating that idea, the business case for it, maybe alternatives analysis, then viability. Now here do we get into a design process?
Interesting. A design process. Now, design is quite a broad term, right? So what happens is probably easier way to explain will be to walk backwards from what people know. So if you think about the building being constructed, yeah, I mean, and if you think of that building, instead of the building is probably this electricity, producing facility that we're building. In order for that construction to happen, there has to be certain layouts drawn out, methods written out, and what needs to be built has to have packages being procured. We need to buy the generator, what kind of generator to buy. And to set it out, we need to have some drawings made out as to the layout of how the equipment will be placed. So the process of deciding how things will be laid out is effectively the detailed design, but you can't do detailed design until you know what you are putting together. And walking backwards again in the design phase, to decide what you want to buy, you need to first do the calculations and the studies. So the design process actually begins at a very early stage, even before there is funding for constructing the project. So the design process, what we spoke about just a few minutes ago, starts just at the concept. So the designers would have to look at the concept, look at whether it's viable. Once it's viable, they go into the feasibility stage, and after the feasibility, they do a front-end engineering, which effectively decides what's going to get built.
So it's all driven by stage gates.
There are stage gates, and there are stage gates usually for funding, because
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not funded, there's no point in doing anything because people need to get paid. At the end of the day, the companies specialized in doing design have to get paid to do the design. Someone's got to pay them, and whoever's paying them needs to be convinced that they're going to get return at the end of that. So, and funding is the stage gates usually that drive the process all the way to a project and a project realization at the end as a constructed facility.
So if I make a statement like almost 30% of the effort that goes into a project is with respect to engineering, is that correct?
It's a reasonable best guess. Yeah, the element of engineering or the complexity of the process will be determined by what you're trying to build. Yeah, I mean, it could be as low as 10 to 15% for some of the projects, so-called construction projects. And when you say percentage, it's a percentage of the funding, right? So if you look at, you're making 1 crore spend, we're talking about 10 to 15% or 10 to 30% of that 1 crore funding is spent in actually sitting down, doing the calculations, drawing it out, and producing a three-dimensional model of what you will be building to prove that it would actually be viable and it will make sense for us to go ahead and put the remaining 70% of the money to buy the materials, mobilize the craftspeople and the plant and equipment to the site, and do the construction. And then all of this has to be planned out, because without a plan, we would not be able to deliver this project in a timely fashion. So what the design and the engineering people do in terms of drawing things out and putting it into a 3D model is a visualization of that final finished project. And that visualization helps people who are investing and people who are approving in terms of safety. And all of those stakeholders kind of come together and agree on the common purpose that they're all coming together to deliver, which is the project. So the visualization done by the 3D model in a project scenario, you talk about the whole design, procuring the items you need, and constructing the facility. All of those activities are written down at a level where you could put it into a couple of pages, and then you would think of what follows what. And that is called scheduling, where you put all your activities down and you kind of estimate what the duration of these activities would be. And then you connect it to the successor activities. And that's a specialized discipline of planning and scheduling.